What's up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary, the podcast about trees and other related topics. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Alex Crowson, and I'm here with Monsieur Casey Clapp.
Bonjour, Ale.
Bonjour.
I don't know if they pronounce the X in French, honestly.
Yeah. I wonder.
Alex.
I feel like Alec maybe is the. Hey, any Frenchmen out there or women? Or non-binary French people.
Yeah. Whatever kind of French person you are. We want to know.
Whatever kind of French person you choose to be.
Yeah, tell us.
Let us know what my name would be in French. Casey, you had to take a language class in middle school, high school?
Yeah, I did.
What did you take?
French.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Oh, obviously.
I don't know. Yeah.
What was your name in, because if you're listening from out of country, maybe this is, I think this is just an American public school thing.
Yeah, it might be.
But in language classes, you had like a name that the teacher would call you in that language. So I was Alejandro in my Spanish classes. Mm-hmm. What were you, Case?
I don't know that any of my teachers ever actually called me by this, but I said that my name was Monsieur l'homme de tout le monde, which it means Mr. the man of all the world.
Wow. Even at a young age, you were insufferable.
I think I was way more insufferable at a young age, actually. I think I've gotten way better.
I'm sure your teachers were delighted. That's a very sweet, funny, cute thing.
Yeah, I'm glad. I hope you're right, I guess.
It's a little long, though. I think I would have shortened it to Jean-Luc.
Yeah, I should have. Yeah, just kept it at that.
Yeah. Casey.
We have a merch sale going on.
We sure do. It is our solstice sale. And should we give the people a rundown of what's going on?
Yeah. I think we should. So, who wants to do it?
I'll start and you can pick up.
All right.
You'll be my color commentary. I'm play-by-play.
Oh, yeah. That sounds great.
Actually, if anything...
yeah. He really got him that time, didn't he?
He's heating up. So we have a huge merch sale happening right now. The reason it's huge is for several reasons.
Yeah.
Everything, all of our current merch on our store is 20% off.
With a 2 and a 0.
That's right. If you use the coupon code Summer of Trees, that's SUMMEROFTREES. Also, we have a couple pieces of new merch, Casey.
That's right, we do. And these are the exciting things. They are on pre-sale. We have two things. One is a t-shirt. And the t-shirt is designed by the lovely Tori Gorham.
That's right.
And we call it the Tree Buds.
Yeah. I think Tori called it the Tree Buds, and we co-op. We were like, that's happening. That's canon.
True. Yeah. And it's this adorable scene of these two characters, which are trees. Mm-hmm. And they are sitting in a forest scene, listening to none other than Completely Arbortrary in their, I guess why we call it Tree Buds is because it's like they have earbuds in. But those earbuds are wired old school style.
That's right.
Down to the also old school style pod.
Yeah.
It's very throwback.
It's beautiful. It's just a stunning piece of art. It's one of my favorite things we've ever commissioned.
Yeah.
Tori was very patient with us, Casey.
Yes, yeah. We went through some intense rocky situations and we had to be like, Tori, can we just please keep working with you, but could you have a little we're having some trouble here.
Could you just forgive us, first of all?
And she was just very sweet.
Yeah, Tori's an amazing artist, and this piece of art is very special. So you can get it on a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. That's the part of the pre-sales of this new t-shirt. It comes in natural, which is like an off-white, and a vintage black, which is kind of an off-black.
It's one of our favorites.
That's right. And if you buy a t-shirt...
This is my favorite part.
If you buy this pre-sale... By the way, these are shipping in July. This is a pre-sale, so once we have them actually manufactured, you get a free postcard.
That's right.
4x6 postcard of the same art.
Yep.
So it's a little print. You can send it to one of your tree buds. You can keep it, as I would, and put it on your wall as a little art print. Mm-hmm. It's all very exciting. And
here's the best part.
Casey, I want you to introduce this.
Okay. So I and you, Alex. We had another project that we were going to do. We kind of pivoted a little bit from that.
Yes.
And it was that we were going to make a bunch of postcards and send it off. And if you wanted and you were willing to, I don't know, throw us a couple more bucks, we would write personalized letters on that postcard and send it over to you.
Yeah.
We decided that that's still a great idea. So if you were to buy this pre-sale and add a little $4 to that, we'll write you a haiku on that card and send it over to you.
That's right.
I'm so excited about it.
Me too.
I really like haikus. So
Yes.
if you guys want to get a haiku written by Alex and Casey of Completely Arbortrary, go get that pre-order, get that shirt, get
Hell
that
yeah.
card. We'll make it happen.
And Casey, the third and final big pillar of this sale, what makes it so special?
Yeah.
Is that I look around my shoulders.
Yeah. Make sure no one's around. Yeah. So when the FBI was in Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort, they not only found a bunch of classified information in documents hidden away, they also found secret cones from the Cone of the Month Club store that they just released the information. Turns out there's 5 Cone of the Month Club cones that are released, and you can get them right now during this sale.
I know that you're not supposed to do this in improv, but I reject that premise.
Oh, what? Come on. I think
don't
that's so
want
funny.
that man associated with our pod.
Oh, but I think it's such a funny idea, Alex.
All right. Well, why would he have them?
Well, because he's I don't know, they're classified, so he's just like, well, I got to have that. They're what is the term I'm looking for? Yeah, they're coveted.
I see.
So he coveted them, and weren't supposed to get them because you got to be a part of the Patreon. So he was just, he co-opted someone, bought them all, and then took them from him. I don't know.
Fair enough.
There's a way to get there.
It's not like we are fans and sent him.
Donald Trump is a patron member.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
No, he's not.
All right, fine. Yes, and. You can buy one of each of these cones.
Yep.
They are the Monterey pine,
the China fir,
the Sitka spruce,
the Canada yew.
Damn it, I was going to say that one.
Uh-oh.
And
the big boy bunya.
the big boy bunya.
That's right.
And we'll send those to you in an envelope for a very limited time.
Exactly. We're only going to sell those for 2 weeks because you have to join the Patreon, the Cone Month Club, to get those cones and get access to all of the other cones.
That's right.
That we've ever done. But we have a lot, so we said, hey, you know what? We want to entice you guys to get on that bandwagon, get into the Patreon, and so this is our little way of saying. There's more where that came from.
You want a little taste?
Get on in. So go to arbitrarypod.com/merch. Go check out what we have for offer.
Yes.
See if there's something that tickles your fancy.
Yeah. I love it, Case. Casey, this week, we're talking about a tree as we do every week.
That's true. I do want to add one more thing.
What's that?
I have yet to find one of our stickers out in the wild.
Casey, me either.
And I really want that.
Can I tell you a little dark, kind of embarrassing thing?
Yeah, sure.
Whenever I am out in public and I see a car that has a lot of stickers on it,
Yeah.
I do a quick scan with my eyes.
I do too.
For a completely arbitrary
I want
sticker.
to. Yeah, I want to.
Is that vain?
I don't think so. It's just more like, is that a fan? It's like a person that has already like stickers that would lead you to think they may be interested in nature and tree themed podcasts.
In fact, a couple weeks ago, I was in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And I was getting in my car, and a car had pulled up next to me. It was covered in tree and nature themed stickers.
Oh my God.
And I was like incredulous that they didn't have I almost wanted to like talk to them and be like, hi, I have a couple on me. Can I give these to you?
Would you have approached them and been like, I know you're a listener. I can tell. Where's the cones?
Don't lie to my face.
That's interesting. Yeah. I have not had anything. I haven't been so let down so far. Mostly because I haven't ever found it, so I don't know what it'd be like to actually get a hold of something like that.
Did I tell you that I was recognized?
No.
I was so I'm going to keep this in because I know we're running a little long on our introduction here. I'm going to keep this in because I hope this person is listening. I didn't get their name, unfortunately, because I was a little starstruck. I was in an art shop like an art supply store in Hood River, and I was like by the window looking at something, and I looked up, and there was a person walking outside, and we made eye contact, and it was like a little like, oh, are you, one of those eye contacts that's kind of like stuttery, and like you're kind of looking up and down.
Yeah,
and it was like tense, and they walk in. And they're like, they go to the other side of the table of the thing I'm looking at. And we do the same thing, this like stuttery eye contact.
That's amazing.
And then she goes,
I know you.
Are you Alex Crowson? And I was like, yeah. Do you have a podcast about trees? It's like, yes.
Man.
It was so wild, Casey.
That is a very funny way of how that happened.
Yeah.
Like it was like almost like intentionally like, I'm going to go in the store and act like I'm looking at this, like looking at these records, but you're just looking above them, looking across the aisle.
Yeah.
Classic.
It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So hello to that person.
Hello to you.
If you're listening to this, I had a great time meeting you. I'm so sorry that I didn't ask your name. I was like I said, I was starstruck.
Yeah, you were starstruck
to see a fungal associate in the wild.
Yeah,
honestly.
Hey, honestly, that's what we live for.
Yeah. Casey, the other thing we live for, and that live for us, and exclusively us under our dominion, is trees.
Oh, Alex, if you didn't say something, I was gonna be like, all right, this whole show is derailed. We have to interrupt some bad ideas here.
And we are talking about a tree this week, as we do every week, and this week is the blue Palo Verde.
That is right.
A tree that I never once have heard of.
It's a great tree. It's a great tree to hear of. If you are probably from the Southwest, specifically Arizona, you've heard of this tree.
Okay.
You've seen it everywhere.
So we often say, like, I think a tropic character I've brought up a couple times.
Yeah.
Is your great aunt living in Arizona who wants to plant a dogwood in her front yard.
Yes, yeah.
So this might be one of those trees that would be available to her.
Yes, this is the one.
All right.
Yeah, correct.
Well, Casey, we have lots to say about it. So thank you for listening to our pitch for our solstice sale. We're going to talk about trees, but we got to take a break. We will be right back with more Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today, we are talking the blue Palo Verde.
That's right, Alex. Blue Palo Verde. Do you know the scientific name?
I do, in fact, Casey.
What do you have?
It's something like Parkinson's.
Yeah. Parkinsonia.
Is it related to Parkinson's disease?
It is. I don't believe so. I think it's a different Parkinson that named the disease, or that has the disease named after that person.
Right.
This is named after one Mr. John Parkinson.
Okay.
Who is an English pharmacist between 1567 and 1650.
A 17th century pharmacist.
Yes.
Wow, I just want to know more.
Well, interesting that you do. He is a very curious figure, actually. He was the first apothecary to James I of England.
Holy shit.
And he also was one of the founding members of the Worshipful Society of Apothecaries.
So he was like the Maester Lewin living with the royal family.
I believe that's exactly it.
And very cool. Wow.
And you know what else is kind of curious about him? He seems like he was kind of a funny guy because he wrote a book that's called Paradisi in Sole Paradisas Terrestris, which means park in suns, as in park-in-sun, as in a park that is in sunlight.
Okay.
So it's Parkinson's terrestrial paradise. He wrote this book in 1629, and he literally named the book a pun of his own name.
Oh my God.
Because his name is Parkinson.
This guy, we got to get a beer with this guy,
We got to do it. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to try and get him on the show. We're going to have our people call his people.
He is instantly in the canon of people that fit on this podcast.
Right? And this is one thing that he said. This is the explanatory subtitle of this book.
Okay.
A garden with all sorts of pleasant flowers which our English air will permit to be nursed up.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
Man, Casey,
Anyway.
I can't wait to hear more about this funny guy, as you call him.
Yeah. Well, honestly, we don't have much more about him. That's one of those. I'll send that. We'll put a link. We'll put a link about him to the Wikipedia page.
My apologies. But let's imagine, as we do every episode, Casey, that you and I are walking through your great aunt's front yard in Arizona,
Yeah.
and we come across her prized blue Palo Verde tree.
Oh, right.
Let's ID this tree.
Let's get into it, Alex. So here's the thing. Blue Palo Verde. Blue Palo Verde.
Well, you kind of said it correctly in Spanish because the V in Spanish is more like a B sound.
Really?
Verde.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, shoot. I've been saying Spanish words for a long time. That's why I need Duolingo. Anyway, we're talking about Parkinsonia, Florida today.
Yes.
Which is the blue Palo Verde.
And Florida, I've come to learn in science speak, does not mean that it's from Florida.
No.
It means flowering.
Yes, or like full of flowers.
Yes,
that kind
like
of thing.
flowerful.
Yes, exactly. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So this is that. There are a few other species that are closely related. One is called microphylla, Parkinsonia microphylla. It's called the foothills Palo Verde.
Big leaf.
Yeah. No, small leaf, micro.
Oh, excuse me. I thought you said macro.
Sorry, pardon me. So these are two trees that are very closely related. If you live in the South, kind of just generally the southern half of the United States, down into Mexico, you're probably familiar with one of these species. The microphylla species kind of grows a little bit more widely, kind of grows even as far over to, actually, there might be another species too. There's a couple, there's at least 4 that are in the kind of southwest area. But some of them grow all the way over to like South Carolina and then California down into Mexico.
So are these different types of blue verde or Palo Verde trees?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Palo Verde is like the
maple
first
oak.
name.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, which just means in Spanish, green stick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the sticks are green. Yeah. What would it? What would
a
you
romantic
have done?
language,
Isn't it? What if we was like, yeah, it's called the Palo Verde, which means green stick because its needles are purple.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that would be pretty random.
It would be very ungood. No, this is a tree named very appropriately. And the one we're talking about only grows down in Southern California, Arizona, a little bit in northern Mexico, and then some, I think just the tiniest bit in New Mexico.
Okay.
But for the most part, down that deep southwest, it's an Arizona tree. I think it's the Arizona state tree.
Oh, wow.
In fact, yes. So
how about
just
that?
so you know. So it is a tree. It doesn't get very tall, maybe about 30 feet tall. Nice rounded crown. Maybe gets about 25 feet outwards. But it's in the pea family, and it does not get very, very big and large.
Okay.
Most likely the reason is it grows in the desert.
Resources are slim.
Very slim.
It kind of has to just work on surviving, not like competing.
Yeah, exactly. And I read something that called it, what was the term? The term was branch deciduous, which means essentially it will like die and kill off its outer branches if it gets too stressed.
Is that the same as shade intolerance?
No, not quite.
This is like, something's going on. In the same way that some trees send out new shoots like in the middle of their trunk under stress.
If something's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
This one will just like drop limbs.
It's the literal same thing.
Wow.
Where it gets stressed and so it maybe can't put as much water out to the periphery.
Okay.
So then that periphery dies and then it resprouts from wherever the periphery, kind of the new periphery is. Wherever there was enough water in the cells, 3/4 of the way up. So then everything, the last quarter dies. But then it resprouts from that, the end, which is just what trees do. So branch deciduous is just like, oh yeah, so it dies back.
It's a tree.
It's just a tree. It's just, it does what normal trees would do. I don't think this tree, to say it's branch deciduous is making it akin to deciduousness in the leaves, which this is also a deciduous tree, but curiously, it is a drought deciduous tree, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But
can I say something about branch deciduous?
Yeah.
Is like something that this tree would put on its resume to make it sound like...
Yeah. It's a self-starter. It's branch deciduous. You get it. It totally is.
Oh, you mean you're just a tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like to think I'm, more branch deciduous.
Yeah, it's like, okay, all right. It's a buzzword, right?
It's a buzzword.
Yeah.
It's all PR. Well, Casey, speaking of overall morphology, I think that this tree it looks very akin to the golden rain tree that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
It does, yes. And that is because it has big yellow flowers, right?
Yeah, well, that too, but also just like kind of its overall form.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Not so much up, but definitely out.
Exactly, and that's a big thing of like desert plants as well. They grow further out than they grow up because it's just easier to grow out wide because you don't have to push things as high up in terms of resources getting, pressure up to the top.
Interesting. Oh, I've never thought about that. That's really interesting, Case.
Yeah, like the acacia thorns and things like that.
Yeah.
You'll
Umbrella
see
tree.
the height. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So it's easier because there's less gravity, essentially, right? Or
there's
less pressure.
Not as far to go, really, is what it comes down to.
Okay.
Yeah. So you also get to shade out more ground underneath you, so your roots don't have to deal with so much sun hitting the ground. So it's a little bit less intense.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So it works out very well for many trees.
Casey, can we talk about? I kind of want to save the flowers and the leaves for last.
Oh yeah. I got plenty more. Oh yeah.
Can we talk about the bark?
Yeah, the bark is the thing, isn't it? It's the green part of the tree.
This is the Verde Palo.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is a tree that has very smooth green bark that kind of has little lenticels on it, little warty bits, and those warty bits will be everywhere, all over the smooth green, kind of smaller, younger stems. And then almost all at once, they will transition into some much more intense bark that actually is gray and not quite furrowed, but it looks just rough. Like I describe it as like cement that has been weathered and beaten and not smooth for decades.
Wow.
Like it's been kind of smashed a little bit, it's broken up and cracked. It's not really intense, but it's just very textured, You
know that when you buy a watermelon, and I think farmers call that watermelon farmers call this webbing. And it's like this sort of off yellow brown sort of like it almost looks like a sort of cankerous sort of growth.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, it's sort of that.
It feels like it, yeah.
Like really rough and like stretched and fucked up.
And but I assume that it's a perfectly reasonable thing for this tree to be doing because it may be adaptations towards fires or perhaps even flooding because it grows in these washes where water is more likely to be, but they have really deep root systems.
I see.
So it might be that they'd be growing in a spot that would have flash floods that would come over. So if you have thicker bark, as things bash into it, you're a little bit more protected. You also are protected if a fire comes through, but fires are ironically not very common because everything in the deserts are usually so spaced apart. There's not enough fuel next to everything to actually just have fire go through.
I see.
Yeah.
It like dies before it gets to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So pretty interesting bark.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The green part, I think, is really the thing, right?
For sure.
And here's the thing. That is doing the photosynthesis for this tree.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Only while it's green?
Only while it's green, but the bark is green all the time.
What about when it gets the gray craggies?
Well, okay, yeah, I guess other than that. Okay. But it's like year-round green bark wherever it's not super intensely old. And the tree only lives to be about 100, so it doesn't really get, gigantic. So the green is mostly 2/3 of the whole entire crown is covered with small enough twigs and sticks that they're just perfectly green.
This is very strange. So the bark is photosynthesizing.
Exactly.
Is this is sort of like the saguaro cactus?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I see the crossover there. They're both desert plants.
Yeah. Not only that, but this is a tree that is a nursery for saguaros. We'll talk about that a little bit too.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a tease.
So this is, it's very similar to the cactus. You're 100% right. The green in the bark, and a couple other species do this, but it's an adaptation where it basically doesn't need its leaves to photosynthesize. It can just go straight through what it has. It uses its leaves only when there's enough water to push its leaves out.
Okay.
So whenever the monsoons come, poosh, the tree's like, woo, takes a huge swig and then just puts on its fancy hat.
Hell yeah.
Parties.
Interesting. What the hell? Why is all this happening?
Well, it lives in the desert, so it has to have these adaptations to make sure that it can survive and not just die if for whatever reason it doesn't get any amount of water for, I don't know, let's say a year. How is it going to make any energy?
So is it like the leaves are more like sensitive and like at risk than the bark?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So actually, a lot of desert plants do this. The ocotillo is another plant that does this. It grows up in these very long, straight stems, which kind of look like these, they're just covered in thorns from head to toe. And they have no branches. They just look like 1,000, maybe, okay, it's like 10, like sticks that just grow up and out. It looks like someone just took a bunch of pickup sticks and just went boop, 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 and put them all together, right, same base, and then they just kind of splay outwards. And then every time there is a spring rain, they'll go like whoop and send out a bunch of little teeny tiny leaves. But then as soon as it gets too hot, the leaves, which are drought deciduous, will just go and fall off to the ground, and now they are waiting for the next rain to come.
Wow.
Yeah.
This must all happen so fast.
It doesn't. It takes a couple weeks, and they'll last for a good amount of time because they're already adapted to using the smallest amount of water. So as soon as water comes in and the plant takes it all up, then it starts to do photosynthesis. And maybe during the monsoon seasons, there's rains. I think in the spring, and there's rains in the late summer, I think, something like that.
Okay.
So they have these times of plenty, but it just doesn't last. And then in between those times, the conditions are really harsh, usually just really hot.
Yeah, yeah.
So in this case, they are plants that are just adapted to this, and they would keep their leaves out for at least a couple weeks, probably a couple months in the right conditions.
Interesting.
And then they would drop them when conditions get too rough and tumble.
Wow. Okay, so the leaves are just like better at photosynthesizing than the bark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
They're designed, purpose built for it. Whereas the bark is kind of adapted and they do very well, but the leaves add that big nice boost of energy.
Gotcha.
So speaking of the leaves, Alex, the leaves are very curious. It took me a while to figure this out, but they are bipinnately compound.
Hell yeah.
Now, being bipinnately compound is one thing, but when you look at them, you wouldn't know it because when they pop out, there's just two pinnae, which means the tree has, or the leaf has, one pair of initial pinnately compound units. And then each one of those has another subset of leaves on it that are broken up. So when you look at it, you think there's just two single leaves that are pinnately compound, but they themselves are part of one leaf, which makes it bipinnately compound.
Wow.
Are you following?
That was my wow for I have many different wows.
I honestly wasn't sure if I could explain this well.
Well, I think you did fine. I think it's just like it's an interesting new concept.
It is
to me.
Well, so imagine a pinnately compound leaf. So you have that normal rachis that goes down the middle, and then you have the individual leaflets coming off left and right, left and right, left and right. So that is a pinnately compound leaf. A bipinnately compound leaf would then have each one of those leaflets would then be broken up further into leaflets of of themselves.
Yes.
So you have leaflets on one leaf.
Yeah.
So this plant, instead of having multiple leaflets on that very first kind of breakup where you have that normal main stem and then left and right, left and right, left and right, this just has one left and one right. There's not even a main rachis. It just splits immediately into two, and then those two have leaflets on them.
I see, and those two are leaflets of one leaf.
Correct.
Wow, what the fuck?
It's really weird.
That's very strange.
So I really had to look into this because I needed to know for sure, and I confirmed it. So if anyone is looking up any photos of the blue Palo Verde, you will see these leaves coming out, and they're all in pairs. So you just see leaflet 1 and leaflet 2 each of which is covered in their own leaflets.
I would like to say about the leaflets.
Please.
Or the leaves.
Yeah, what are we even going to call them?
Leaves.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're beautiful.
They are, aren't they?
They're gorgeous little
They're
things.
just beautiful. They're in the pea family. And pea family plants, especially in the desert, they always have those pinnately compound things.
Okay.
But these, Alex, I'm just so on board with. Like, they just look so delicate and waxy and, like, dainty.
Little clovers almost.
Yeah, they look exactly. It's exactly it. Also, in the pea family.
How about that, Casey?
How about that?
They've also got kind of an olive leaf vibe.
Very
I think the
light
color,
bluish, right?
Yeah. Like
Which
that
is
sage.
It should be another thing. This is the blue Palo Verde, right? Yeah, it's hard to use the color, isn't it? I heard that. It's very olive colored, like a olive.
Like a refrigerator from the 50s.
The blue Palo Verde is called such because the actual green stick is a little bit bluish tinged. And I have a feeling, Alex, that they also said, well, these leaves also are a little bit blue tinged.
Aha. Yes.
They're spot on.
I definitely, they're gorgeous. They're very unique looking too. They're just like little lily pads.
Yeah, right. And at the base
also
of each
in
one,
the pea family.
Also in the pea family. I wish they have a little thorn right at the base of them too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you find the right ones that are wild, they will be undesirable in terms of handshaking.
I see.
Yes.
Well, Casey, we've mentioned several times that these trees are in the pea family.
We have.
Do they grow a pea pod?
They do, after and only after putting on a spectacular display of yellow flowers.
Well, should we talk about it chronologically?
We sure should.
Okay, flowers first.
Flowers first. They begin with these beautiful yellow flowers,
Gorgeous. 5
petals, and they're in the pea family, which means they usually are offset in terms of symmetry. So you're familiar with symmetry, like radial symmetry?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just in case you're not familiar,
Casey thinks I'm not.
if you have a wheel of a bicycle or of a car, that has radial symmetry.
Right.
So it's radial in that you can just move it a little bit, and then at some point, it will have the same exact pattern that it had before you moved it. So any flower that has 5 petals that are exactly the same will have that same radial symmetry where you rotate it 1/5. I guess, what is 1/5 of 360 degrees? That's our question. 1/5 around the circle. It was. 1/5 around that circle, and then it'll be exactly the same. And then you do that 5 times, and it'll be back to beginning. You've had 5 times that you've twisted it, and it looks exactly the same.
So it's just a symmetrical flower.
Exactly. But this is not radially symmetrical. This is symmetrical left and right vertically. So if you look at it,
mirrored.
There's one, exactly, yeah. It's mirrored between left and right. And pea family plants do this. They often have the 5th petal doing something weird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like it's kind of offset in some weird way.
Yes.
It's kind of modified to be a little bit different here or there.
I'm imagining like an orchid that has like a little coiffed hair on top.
Yes, yeah, very similar. Now, very different families. But a similar floral idea.
Okay.
You're 100% right there.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah, so this one is has that vertical symmetry, and then these nice little stamen that pop out that are very orange, and some of these have orange dots on the petals themselves. Quite stunning.
They really are.
It's just a tree that's just like it's a very attractive tree.
It's kind of got it all. Case.
Yeah, it really does.
It's kind of clueless.
It's kind of clueless.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Alicia Silverstone in Clueless.
Oh, she's got it all.
She's smart. She's funny.
I guess. All right. Good point. Yeah.
She gets to hang out with Paul Rudd.
What? Ah, man.
Okay.
Anyway,
where were we, Casey?
We were about to talk about this pea pod.
Yes.
Because it has a pea pod. It's in the pea family.
Yeah.
Now, the pea pod is exactly as you would expect. The fun thing is it has maybe 2 or 3 seeds, and it's about 2 or 3 inches long. Each seed is about maybe a half an inch or so, a couple maybe about 1.5 centimeters or so.
Okay.
And they are edible, and they grow in these pods that are kind of shrunk wrapped around them is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
So they kind of get skinnier, then get wider, and skinnier and wider.
Shrink wrap is perfect.
Oh, thank you, Alex.
Good job.
So these little things are like so edible for many different peoples. However, I've heard some people cook them and others eat it raw. Some people will cook it as a last resort, a famine food, if you will.
Right.
Others just use it as a normal part of their diet.
Interesting.
Yeah, but then also animals and all sorts of different creatures will. I guess there's animals are different creatures. Anyway. Animals will eat the heck out of it all the time.
Yeah.
Little mice, all sorts of desert creatures that are looking for a little vegetable matter.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty good thing.
It's pretty unsuspecting. I look at it and I'm like, I probably shouldn't eat that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not something that I understand to be like, oh, let's go out and forage for this because it tastes like, edamame. But that's how I'm told you would eat it.
As Paul F. Tompkins says about crab apples, it's not something that you would take a bite out of and say, yum, yum.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Well, Casey, that was a very comprehensive roundup of this tree's parts.
You're going to be able to identify this. We probably went way too far. The name of it is green stick. When you see something that is a green stick,
sure,
call it a green stick, and you've just identified it.
Sound like a local. Yeah, it's one of those trees that just like has a lot of components.
Yeah, and each one is like unique and worth it to talk about.
Yeah, it has a spike, it has a flower, it has interesting leaves, it has a fruit.
It's branch deciduous.
Yeah, it's is it trying too hard? We'll find out in the review.
We'll find out in the review. But Alex, before we get there,
yeah,
I want to talk a little bit about this tree. I want to talk a little bit about this tree and the role that it plays in this desert ecosystem.
Fantastic. All right, Wilford.
What did you say? Wilford?
You sound like Wilford Brimley right there.
Ah, yes.
Ecosystem.
Ecosystem. All right. So here's the thing about this Palo Verde. It's a tree that is the right tree for the right place. For our great aunt's house, this is the one to plant.
All right.
Don't plant your dogwood. It's a dumb idea. This tree, once it gets established, it just doesn't need anything.
Wow.
It just lives.
Okay.
It's a deep root system. Not only that.
Okay.
Deep root system that adds nitrogen to the soil.
It's got a DRS?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It does. Yeah, it's got a DRS. yeah. I was like, what does that mean?
And then it fixes nitrogen, eh?
Exactly. So like many different plants in the legume family, they have little bacteria in their roots that fix nitrogen from the air and release it into the soil around them.
Okay. They take nitrogen from the air.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
and they make it palatable to soil.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Because in nitrogen, I think like 80% of our atmosphere is nitrogen.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's N2 because the nitrogens just go on top of each other.
Okay.
So that is unusable to most things. We either need it as I think it's a nitrate rather than a nitrite. Those can be locked away in something like ammonium or something like that, and then goes out into the soil, and it's a way that plants can use it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a very good thing that they do. And because they do that and they lose their leaves, photosynthesize through their bark, they have like dappled shade that comes underneath. And that is why they're good for other cactus.
Wow.
So the cactus can go down, get nitrogen from the soil underneath the Palo Verde. It has enough sunlight that it can still photosynthesize through its branches that have green in it, which is just the main stem. And it'll slowly grow up through this thing. So a saguaro, for instance, will be a nursed plant underneath the realm of a Palo Verde. And then it will grow up and take over.
Wow. Take over the Palo Verde?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Palo Verde would kind of grow, it kind of doesn't get more than 30 feet tall.
Sure.
Whereas the saguaro can get like up to 50 feet tall.
Oh, yeah. Forget that about those.
Yeah. And I think in the desert, they don't get near as tall as they would in like a nice landscaped area where there's a little bit more water and things like that. So they are the kind of precursor to all the cactuses that you would see, I should say cacti, that you'd see growing in other places. So they are a nursery tree is what they call it, but not as a nurse log that is dead.
Right.
This is a living kind of nurse that helps,
Wow.
let's say, nourish different other plants.
Norse tree.
It's a Norse tree.
It grows up in Valhalla.
Yeah, and now isn't that kind of fun? Like, it makes me think, Alex, and I'm curious of your opinion on this.
Casey's got a philosophy incoming.
So the deserts of the Southwest are known for cactus. Like cacti are only a North and South America thing. There's like one or two species elsewhere. Yeah,
Interesting.
and now there is euphorbia. Can become cactus-like and like a succulent, and that grows all over the place.
Okay.
But cactus, in like the succulent cactus way with the big spines that everyone knows, that is a phenomenon that developed in North and South America and almost nowhere else in the world.
That's very fascinating.
So
Endemic.
it's an endemic kind of thing to this section.
Yeah.
So it's iconic, right? Like you go down to, I have a tattoo of a saguaro cactus on me from Kristen Best. Everyone go get a tattoo from her.
Inside Recess in Portland.
So it's such a fun shop. So we, that's like the thing that we see, but I'm here to say, I think that the Palo Verde got the short end of that green stick.
Wow.
Because they're the ones that like do everything.
Yeah.
The cactus are just the superstars that get the prize at the end of the day. They're the one that goes and walks across the stage in the Oscars, whereas everyone who did the real work is back there just getting a pat on the back.
This is a classic George Lucas's wife situation.
What is that? What do you mean?
I should know her first name. That's kind of going against my point here.
Exactly, but it's also
or for my point.
I was going to say it's probably proving the point.
Yeah. Well, George Lucas, has many ideas.
Yeah.
And apparently the first cut of Star Wars, the first edit, was like nonsense.
Oh, I think you told me that.
And his wife was like, you need like some emotion in this. Like you need to cut it with some heart. And he was like, what is heart?
What is heart? I'm an android.
So the story is, maybe this has been disproven or something, but that she re-edited it.
Interesting.
And that's what we have today.
Back to the Palo Verde.
Yeah.
It would grow on Tatooine. Yes, I know. That's what everyone was wondering.
Wow.
Anyway, so this is a tree that is like eminently designed for the desert. As we already noted, it has green bark.
Yes.
So it photosynthesizes without needing leaves at all. Same adaptation that the cactus has done, that the ocotillo has done, all sorts of plants.
Killer app.
Great decision.
Mm-hmm.
It also is drought deciduous, which is literally the same mechanism as any other deciduous plant, which is essentially it needs to protect itself from losing water. It just so happens up in the northern climes, we have really cold winters and water just gets sucked out of leaves that aren't protected with a big, nice waxy coating. Because of that lack of waxy coating, deciduous leaves say, I'm going to lose too much water, so I'm going to go dormant and let my leaves fall so I don't lose any water over the course of this very cold, usually dry winter. You ever had like your skin crack in the middle of January?
Yeah.
Same exact thing.
Okay.
That plants that are deciduous have basically said, not dealing with that.
You know, it's weird. In January, my lips fall off.
Yeah, I have noticed that. You look very much like that person from it's Neo from the Matrix when his lips get sewn together. That's what I imagine.
Oh, God.
It's not quite the same, but his lips, the CGI, it's not great.
It didn't age well.
Yeah, but it's very scary. So for our Palo Verde,
Yeah.
the leaves are deciduous for the same reason, lack of water, but it's not because it's so cold and windy and harsh in the wintertime. It's because it's hot as hell. So its leaves, as they start to lose just a little too much water, they will just close up and then drop off.
Are there many other desert plants that have borrowed this adaptation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a few. Ocotillo, like I said earlier, is a great example.
Oh, yeah.
Any plant that is mostly stick it will grow all these cool leaves just at the time when there's a lot of monsoonal water that comes. And then it'll use it for a while, then it'll drop away.
Okay.
There's also trees in the tropics that do this. In India, for example, when it gets really hot in the dry season, all those trees will lose their leaves, and then you'll have this this forest that, for all intents and purposes, looks just like a forest that you've ever seen anywhere else. Obviously, the trees are different, and there's monkeys and tigers running around.
Yeah.
But all the leaves will fall like a nice deciduous forest.
Wow.
Except it's just like blisteringly hot.
Wow.
Isn't that fun?
That's really interesting, Casey.
Yeah. It's drought deciduousness, which is a real kind of deciduousness, as opposed to branch deciduousness, which is just that a tree is just really stressed and dies back and has to regrow from a new space. So that for our tree, my thesis here is that it is perfectly adapted to these desert environments.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It gives food away to all the other creatures that are around. So those creatures will bury that seed in their mittens, and then it will regrow the plant. So the plant's got that down. It is drought deciduous, so it'll lose its leaves whenever it gets too hot and photosynthesize right through its bark.
Yeah.
It will add nitrogen to the soil and make that more palatable for other plants, and it will shade them, but not too much, so that you can have this nursery space. So my thesis is that the Palo Verde is the true desert specialist, and all the other plants that are out there growing are just growing on the back of the Palo Verde.
Holy shit.
That's what I think. I guess it's what I think, but not based on me being like, here's my hot take. This is me looking at the facts and saying, I conclude thus that it should actually be Palo Verde National Park instead of Saguaro National Park.
That's incredible.
Honestly, I've been there, but I didn't pay much attention to the Palo Verde that were there. So, I guess maybe someone, and maybe they have that. Maybe I didn't look up Saguaro National Park and their population nor opinion of the Palo Verde. I think that they might really be the key to the ecosystem. I know that the ecosystem can probably survive without them, but I think they might be playing such a key role that any of the other animals and cacti that are growing around might just have a harder time getting it done.
Thrive versus survive.
Exactly. I think that the Palo Verde is this connector, this bringing together of all these different animals. I think it's a keystone species. I don't think is quite perfect here.
Okay.
But I think it's a network builder.
Wow.
I think it's those things that work underground, and they're just like, hold on, I know a guy. And then it goes and calls this other thing, and makes this happen, and makes this happen. Now you connected, and boom, you got the deal you were looking for.
That's incredible, Case.
This is what I think.
Well, I have so much to say in my review. I feel like I have more to say in my review than I have in the episode proper.
Oh, well.
Not to say that the review's not a part of the episode, but it's a bit of an epilogue.
Well, I have given my side of this story, so I think we should hear what you have to say then.
Let's do it, Casey. I've got things to say, but we got to send you to a little break. A word from our sponsors. We'll be right back with more Completely Arbortrary. One and a two.
That was not the right beat.
Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today we talked the blue Palo Verde, and we're about to give a number rating to this tree. Here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on this tree, and then give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor.
Alex.
Casey. Wow.
I want you to go first this time.
This is unprecedented.
This is not. I believe it's happened at least once before.
All right.
So it's almost that. I feel like in the news cycle recently, in the last couple of years, people have been like, this is unprecedented.
Right.
And then somebody at some point was like, I mean, I hate saying this because everything is, everyone says it now, but anyway, this is unprecedented. They were just like, they were so upset because it's just like thrown around like so much cheese.
Yeah, and just like moves the goalposts.
Yeah, it's like
for all these bad things.
What is precedented anymore? Anyway,
right, true.
So technically, there is a precedent, and I think because when we ended, you said that you have so many things you want to say. I've had my time. I think you should go.
This is amazing, and my mind goes blank.
Oh no. I think this tree's blue. And therefore...
Casey, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
I like a tree that has a special thing.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, most of those are fruit trees.
I was going to say, most that means, like, does this tree grow a mango?
But this tree, I think, does have a special thing. In fact, I think it has several special things. I love a tree with many elements. This is like this combo pizza from Round Table.
Yeah, it really
got a
is.
bunch of toppings on this tree.
Yeah, we got to do a tree that's got nothing. Like, let's do like the cheese pizza of trees.
Yeah, like a margarita.
Yeah.
Or a pizza rosa, which is just sauce.
What? Oh my God, not even dough?
It's a bowl of sauce.
Here's your pizza rosa.
I love the pea pod thing. I love pea family stuff. They're so curious and funny. They're over there doing their own thing. I love that. Of course, I love a Southern Californian tree.
This is the most southern of California you can get.
And I'm about to say something a little strong-worded, but they don't have many options. It's nice to see, like, you know.
Wow.
You've seen the LA streets.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, they don't have, I mean, but they do have a lot of options. Like, Southern California, they got a lot of different trees.
I understand. I guess what I'm saying is, like, I didn't see a lot of diversity in the street tree action there.
Okay.
But maybe if I was from out of town from Portland and I came to Portland, I would be like, they're all the same fucking tree.
If only there was a book that someone was writing to help you figure out which tree was which.
Wow.
Jeez.
Do you want to drop it?
Maybe. I'm trying to write a tree ID book, everyone.
Hell yeah.
Don't spoil it, but we might be asking for some support to make it happen.
Yes.
We've been talking about a cool plan here at Completely Arbortrary, and I'm very excited about it.
I'm also very excited, Casey.
That's all I'll tell you about.
I'm very proud of you.
Thanks, Alex. That's really sweet of you.
It's a long-term goal, and you're making moves.
We're making moves for it, so you'll hear more, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Way more.
But before that, you're right. If you come to Portland, you don't know all the trees, you don't know the differences.
Sure.
You may not be able to tell them apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I'm going to give this thing 8.2.
8.2 for the Palo Verde?
Yes.
Wow, Alex. It's incredible. Wow. Okay, so what else? You got any other things? You said that you had like big ideas, or you had a lot to say. I
just think it's got it going on.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So many elements, and then so many like helpful things. You know, it's a food. It's like anti-allelopathic.
Yeah.
What is that called?
It's a good question. Maybe it's chemical pathogen. So what is it? It's like chemical sickness or something like that. So this would be chemical pathogenic. What's the opposite of that?
I have a proposal.
Yeah.
Can we call it groovy?
Yeah. This tree's aloe groovy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
A groovy tree.
It's a groovy tree. Oh, just groovy, not aloe groovy.
No.
Aloe groovy. Okay.
Casey, that was enough from me.
All right.
Let's hear your cone score.
Let's do it. So I think that this is a cool tree. I am more on board with it than I was when we started, because when we started, I was like, this is, it's a little tree. It's growing down there. It's a desert tree. I find desert trees to be fine when they're well kept, but then if they're wild, because of their branch deciduousness, they just kind of look a little shoddy. You know, you can't tell if they're dead. You can't tell if they're not dead. Are those leaves supposed to be on right now? I can't really tell. Is that like dying back, or is that a strategy? Like,
right, you can't tell if it's healthy or not.
Yeah, exactly. They normally just look weird. But there's a bunch of beautiful photos of them, like in their glory, which I assume I just have never seen one when the rains came and it was really just flushed with flowers and leaves and things. But the green and the yellow, I think, match very nicely of these two plants. And it's like thoroughly green. It's one of those trees where, because its stems are green, it just is green. The whole thing, start to finish. As opposed to a lot of trees, which you may not know, they actually have brown bark. So when you look at them, you're actually seeing a very significant amount of brown in any given tree, because you're seeing the bark and the stems and the branches. So this one's unique in that regard, and I think that's worth noting.
Beautiful.
The other thing is I like a tree that also is this like power broker almost. Like it's the tree that helps, once it gets established, it then is able to say, okay, who can I help now?
Wow.
Who's next? What do we got? And then it helps this other plant grow, and it helps this other plant grow, and it helps this one grow, and it gives these things over here, and it's very popular with hummingbirds and butterflies and pollinator insects, and it also creates the perfect space for things to burrow underneath it, because it usually helps create better soil conditions. So it's kind of this tree that creates its own future. And in doing so, creates the future for other trees.
Casey.
Yeah.
That was so beautifully said.
Well, thanks, Alex. I think it's a pretty cool tree. Although, I also just don't think it's that exciting. Like, I don't know. I know a couple of people have planted these elsewhere, and there's a variety that they call it's a 3-way hybrid, and I believe it's called the Sonoran or the Desert Museum Palo Verde, because the Arizona Sonoran Desert Museum found it, and it's a hybrid. I think they might have been working on it, like kind of as studying hybridization between 3 different species.
They named it after the museum?
Yeah, it's called the Desert Museum Palo Verde.
I love it.
Isn't that a great name?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's unprecedented.
That is unprecedented. It's a 3-way hybrid, and it doesn't have any thorns. It grows to tree size and is very shapely. And it also has flowers that bloom just a little bit longer. Rather than only coming out in spring, they'll kind of stay through summer as well. So it's like a pretty cool tree to be planted as a street tree, as a front yard tree. It's very xeric. So you can plant it and establish it and then walk away. It's going to be great. I like that. It's a climate adapted tree for a place that has no water. Thumbs up. But some of them are invasive elsewhere. So if you go down to Africa or any other like tropical, subtropical, hot place, this tree will probably be growing there, or one of its very close relatives, and it will likely be invasive. So I think it's great. Although my big thing is it just doesn't, like, you see it at one point in time, like, oh, that's a good looking tree. I've seen this tree lots of times. And each time I was kind of like, well, I guess that's a good try. I don't know. I don't know why. They don't inspire me the way a tree, like a big, giant purple beech tree, or a huge, even a hawthorn. These are like hawthorn light, I think.
Wow.
Where you see a hawthorn, if you took a hawthorn and you brought it to the barber and you said, clean this tree up, would you? Get this tree ready to go. We got some things we want to do. We need it to look nice for the ball tonight. That would come out of the barbershop and it would look like a Palo Verde.
Interesting.
This is what I think. Although I find that the messy mop top of a hawthorn looks more interesting. It's got more going on.
It's attractive in its own right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have to say, for all this tree does in terms of its ecology and its use, I got to give it a good score.
Isn't it kind of interesting that after this impassioned rant, we have to put it down to a decimal?
Yeah, it is, and we signed up for it, and this happened, I don't know, in our first episodes or first season at the least.
Yeah,
where I talked wax poetic about some tree, and then at the end of it had to be like, yeah, but I just kind of think this tree's stupid.
6.2.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 6.9 so that everyone can be like, nice.
Okay,
that's what I've chosen here.
Cheeky.
Everyone this tree gets a nice. Because I think it's nice. I think it's a nice tree. I do. I think it's a nice tree. I love what it does. It is ecologically important. So if this was a podcast focused entirely on native plant and native kind of uses of plants in certain ways, and like, let's really dive into the space that this tree takes up and what's important.
In its context.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then, 10 out of 10. But then every tree is going to get 10 out of 10. Every plant's going to get 10 out of 10. So somehow we have to editorialize down. And right now, I'm editorializing down to be like, it does really good stuff, but whatever.
Fair enough, Case.
Yeah. So I give this tree a 6.9 so that everyone collectively can be like, nice.
That was our review of the Blue Palo Verde. Casey It's time for a game.
Alrighty.
This is one we haven't played in a while, Case. Oh. But it's one that I love to sing at least.
What?
This is Who Can It Tree Now?
Yeah.
I fucked it up. 3, 4. Who can it tree now? Who can it tree now? Who can it tree now? Okay, Casey.
Here we go, Alex.
Here's how it works.
The excitement is unparalleled.
Unprecedented. I am going to choose a tree, Casey.
Okay.
From The Sibley Guide to Trees by David Allen Sibley.
Love that guy.
I have chosen a tree. You have 10 questions.
10 questions.
Yes or no questions to ask me about this tree. At the end of the 10 questions, you must guess which tree. You must guess who it can tree now.
So, I'm going to first take my look.
No.
Damn.
I knew you were going to do that. So I'm holding the book up. Casey was seeing how far I was through the book.
Yeah.
You little cheater. All right, Casey, what's question number 1?
Question number 1. Are the leaves oppositely arranged?
Oh, yes, this is a...
I almost said or alternate, and I realized that wouldn't be a thing. So question 1. Are the trees oppositely arranged? Are the leaves oppositely arranged? Excuse me.
No.
They are not, which means it alternately arranged.
Unless there's a fun new third choice.
There could be, but I'm going to try to avoid that. Are the leaves compound?
No.
They are not. Okay, simple alternate leaves. This is the worst of all the options.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Not that I want to see you lose, but I feel like if you lose, I win.
I appreciate that. Is this tree native to west of the Rocky Mountains?
Yes.
It is native to
Excuse me, no.
west. It is not native west of the Rocky Mountains. So it is native to the eastern United States. That's not a question that I'm asking in terms of my 4th question. That's just me clarifying. Is this tree native to North America?
No.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to review. That's 4 questions, right?
Yes.
It is non-native, but it only generally is growing. No, it's not. It's just not native at all.
It's not native to North America.
Not native at all. It is simple, alternately arranged leaves.
Yes.
Is the fruit succulent and edible-ish?
No.
It's not. Okay, so it's not that. Whew. Okay. Does this tree grow higher than 50 feet on average, generally? So essentially, is this a big tree?
This tree does, on average, grow higher than 50 feet.
Okay, so it's a big tree. Does this tree have amazing flowers?
No.
Oh, they're just kind of boring flowers.
I didn't say that.
Oh.
Don't read too much into that.
I'm not going to read too much into it. Okay, that's 7 questions, and I'm stumped still.
Wow.
Is this tree from Europe?
Yes.
It is from Europe. Okay.
Wow, Casey lit up.
8. Okay, well that helps. This is getting me somewhere.
Awesome.
So I got 2 more questions that I can ask.
That's right.
So this fruit, I'm going to go through things. So it's a European species. It has simple and alternate leaves, and the fruit is not succulent, and we don't eat it.
This is all correct.
Okay. So we got a lot to work with here. I got a lot to think about. This is going to take us just a little bit. So let me just put my finger on my chin.
That helps.
And consider this. All right. So I'm going to ask another question here. This is going to be my ninth.
Number 9.
Ninth question.
Number 9.
Is this tree commonly found along the streets of Portland?
Would it be okay to choose a different question?
Yes, I will choose a different question.
Because I don't know.
Okay. Have you seen this tree here in the city of Portland?
I don't know.
Oh, dang it.
Potentially.
Okay. So
does that help?
It does a little bit. I just don't know.
I hope I haven't answered something incorrectly and thrown you off the path. That's always my fear with this stuff. It's happened once.
It does happen once, but that's okay. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through it.
It'll be a fun ending if I have.
Yeah, that really would be be exciting, wouldn't it? All right.
That's just good podcasting.
And we don't eat the fruit, right? That's something
No.
I asked. We do not eat it.
No, we do not eat the fruit.
We do not eat the fruit. Okay, so
Maybe you could ask maybe you could ask something about the leaves.
yeah, the leaves are simple alternate.
Is that all you need?
No, but do the leaves have? I'll just go with this. Do the leaves have some deeply incised lobes or something like that?
No.
Okay, so that doesn't help. That sounds awful. All right, that's my 10th question. Here is my guess.
Casey Clapp. Who can it tree now?
This tree is the cork oak.
Incorrect.
Damn it, I have no idea.
I have been looking at the Italian alder, Casey.
The Italian alder.
Alnus cordata.
Oh my God. I would never have gotten that. I completely forgot about alders entirely.
You know what? I thought that might have been the case.
Oh, I was thinking birch. That's as close as I got. I was like, but you would have said, no. I've seen that tree around town. We have one literally outside this house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever see that planted really over in Portland.
Yeah, it looks like the map, the reason I got hung up on all the geography
Yeah.
shit, because it's native to Italy. Mm-hmm. Okay. On the map, there's a little yellow dot on California. Around San Francisco way.
Makes sense.
And then it says uncommonly cultivated and locally escaped, particularly in the Midwest, zones 5 through 7.
Really?
So I was like, I don't even know how to answer that question. But
yeah.
Casey, I've been thinking of the Italian alder, and I'm so sorry. You remain to know who it can tree now.
God dang it. I hate getting this wrong.
I'm sorry, Case.
It's okay. It's not your fault. There's just so many options. I didn't even know they had that tree in that book.
Wow,
David.
really?
Yeah.
Because it's not North American native?
Yeah, no, and I didn't even know that it was so common that it would be warranted inclusion.
I see.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to think.
Wow.
I'm ashamed. I can tell you a fact about that alder, though.
Hit me.
Well, they are very decay resistant if underwater. So they've been used to build the city of
Rome.
No, whatever. What is the one? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. What's the famous Italian city that is like built?
Oh, Venice.
Venice. Thank you. They legend has it that people moved from one city. They got destroyed during like the late Roman period. They moved in mass, abandoned their city, moved out to this wetland countryside place that then they drained and turned into these perfect little canals.
Yeah.
Built all their things, and they put piles of alder down and then built their houses on top of that.
Wow.
So much of ancient Venice is built on pylons that are actually just alders that they cut down and used because they don't decay if they're
That's
underwater.
amazing.
Yeah, many of them are, in fact, still there.
You know what? I say that's an honorary win of the game, Casey.
Yes!
You have one who can a tree now.
That's what I'm talking about, you guys. So far, I'm only defeated once.
Yeah. Case,
All
it is
right.
time for our completely arbitrary Q&A.
All right, let's see what we got here today.
This week's question is from Kat.
Hello, Kat.
What in the world is going on with tree plant gender?
Oh, tree plant gender. It's an enigma.
Why are some trees female, some male, some have both sexes? Some self-pollinate? Are these gender words really what's going on?
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah, Case. What do you think?
Well, we've talked a little bit about this every now and then. Now, the big thing, biologically speaking, trees fall into a few different categories. The main two are dioecious and monoecious. That essentially translates to one house and two houses. One house, monoecious, means that all of the different sexual parts of a tree grow on one tree.
Oh.
So you have the flowers that produce the pollen and the flowers that produce the fruit on one tree.
Oh.
Often they are the same flower, so they're perfect flowers.
Wow. I just connected a dot.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What is it?
This whole thing.
Oh, great. Cool.
Monoecious versus dioecious. I've always just kind of glazed over that.
Oh, God. Okay. Well, welcome back to back to class.
Dioecious. Like I'm awake for the first time in my life.
Yeah, I can see it. Your eyes are glistening. They're beautiful. So dioecious means two houses, which means you have one tree that only makes flowers that produce pollen, and you have another tree that only makes flowers that have the seeds, or that will produce the seeds, so they have the ova in them.
Like a ginkgo.
Exactly. Ginkgo, cottonwoods are another example where there are two different trees.
Right.
So there are also, like we noted, perfect flowers that have both parts in one flower. Magnolia is a great example of that. We also have flowers that are differentiated on different shoots, where up at the top, certain shoots would produce the seeds because they are what we would call female flowers. And then below on a tree would be the male flowers that produce the pollen.
Okay.
So we use those gendered terms because these are the sexual parts of a plant. And gender and sex and that kind of thing all really does boil down to reproductive parts. What kind of reproductive part do you have? This puts you in category A or category B.
Right.
Generally speaking, that's the binary that has been used over time for, as long as time's existed. However, as long as time has existed, with people, there has been a spectrum. We just haven't until recently really given it the social status that I think it should.
Yes.
You were one or the other, or you were something in between, and no one really wanted to figure it out or talk about it or have any kind of discussion about you as a person, So in terms of people, gender identity versus like sex at birth and all this kind of stuff is wildly complicated and is, having a big moment, I think, right now in our national politics and consciousness.
Yes. Yeah.
So I have been trying over a couple years to pull away from kind of genderized terms. But
in botany or in anything?
Yes, in botany. In my normal conversation, I put my pronouns on almost everything.
It's true.
The thing is, I don't like necessarily comparing and making genderized things for plants and genderized things for people on the same level.
Right.
Because the plant does not give a single shit what you call it. It's going to do whatever it's going to do. Even like ginkgo will often switch back and forth and start making flowers that produce pollen, even though its entire life it's produced only the flowers that have the ova in them.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's just sometimes randomly it'll just say, yep, this shoot over here, not going to produce these kinds of flowers. So the tree does not care one way or the other. People very much do care. It has a lot to do with their identity and how they're treated and what they are for themselves. So those things, when we pull them together and we then conflate them, it starts to make issues where there aren't really issues. And most of the time in plants, it's pretty cut and dry. This flower makes pollen. That flower does not make pollen. The flowers are not necessarily identifying as pollen-producing flowers.
Right.
We are projecting that onto the plants.
Interesting.
And it's very simple for us because we have had a binary for so much of our existence. It's very simple for us to apply that to nature as well. That is a female wolf. That is a male wolf. That one produces the sperm. That one produces the eggs.
And you don't like this?
No, I don't. I guess I don't like conflating it. But what other term are we going to do? Like, oh, that's the egg producing wolf. Oh, that's the sperm producing wolf.
Right.
Can we just call that a male wolf and a female wolf?
I think you're onto something with like it's not ideal, and like we may not like it or kind of roll our eyes at it, but it's the best. It is the best way to describe these plants. Yeah,
and everyone understands it. You know, when I say, oh, well, this is the male plant.
Right.
This is the male tree. This is the female tree. You know exactly what it is.
Right.
You know quickly, that's the one that produces the pollen. As pollen, for those of you if we haven't covered it, is essentially analogous to sperm. Yeah. So, Alex, I think it's a good point, and that's what I've always found because I've tried to move away from it and say, oh, well, these are the pistillate flowers. Just use botanical terms. But the problem is, if you are not a specialist, you have no idea what that means.
Exactly.
You also have no idea, like it doesn't stick in your brain.
Yeah.
If I say, oh, female, this is the female fruit. You're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, this is the one with the seeds in it. This is the one that does the reproductive stuff that everyone's familiar with, because most of the time in our zeitgeist of humanity, it would be the females, the women that do the reproductive things. So I shouldn't say reproductive things. They're the ones that make babies and then reproduce the species. So when you see a fruit, or you see really it's just the fruit or the flower, it has this kind of feminine kind of side to it, because that is related in our consciousness as the reproductive, the fertile, the woman part of our world.
Yes.
But that is just something that we've had, and there is throughout the entire universe of humanity, from people with religion, without religion, for as long as time has existed. We have found these fertility in plants and made that connection. So it's a convenient term, like you're saying, but it's also a term that is like, it's almost fixed within our consciousness.
Right. Interesting. Thank you, Kat, for your question. If you have a question for us, join up on the Patreon at the $3 a month Quercus and Alder. That's Q&A tier. We have patron-exclusive Q&A episodes, and you get a chance to have your question read live in New York City on Completely Arbortrary.
That's true.
At the $5 tier, you get 2 bonus episodes a month about other related topics and trees. There's lots of behind-the-scenes stuff there, Casey.
Yeah, there is.
And, of course, above that, Cone of the Month Club. $10 a month. You get a monthly cone sticker illustrated by a different artist every month, a different species every month. You get an info card sent to your mailbox every month.
It happens every month, is what we're saying.
I just realized how many times I said every month in that long run-on sentence.
The Cone of the Month Club is my favorite. What is it this week? We got Ponderosa Pine was last month.
Yeah, Ponderosa Pine's going out, but this time
we got June.
Jack Pine.
The Jack Pine, baby.
With fire in the background.
I love the Jack Pine so much.
It's a wonderful sticker.
Yeah, and so obviously, I think the Jack Pine probably has a lot in common with the old Palo Verde.
Is that so?
Yeah, just because it's kind of one of those scrubby little trees that, does cool stuff, but then doesn't actually, like, really impress me, but I like it anyway,
Above the Cone of the Month Club is the $15 tier, which is called Arbortrary Plus. You get 2 live streams a month. One of them is with just me playing a video game, tree or nature-themed video game. One's with Casey and I on a host of topics.
A lot of different topics.
Last month, Casey, we had a live cooperative draft.
Yeah, we did.
For Pokemon trees.
The Buttercup.
The Buttercup.
Which, if you're just hearing about this, get excited, because it's going to come out in the next couple weeks.
It's going to be a lot of silly fun.
What exactly is it? We're not telling.
When we know, we'll let you know. Above that is generous admission, $20 a month, or whatever you feel like giving us. It's very special, and it's very honored, and it really helps the podcast continue, as do all our patrons, Casey.
And all of our listeners, Patreon or otherwise. We are so happy to still be here, kicking around with y'all.
Wow. Morning DJ.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Gonna get a little milk in here.
You playing jazz?
Yeah.
Should we go out to jazz this episode, Casey?
No, we should go out to milk, because I just introduced it.
Oh, milk. I forgot that was what the song was called.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Case.
Hey, for everyone who's listening, the Mini Vandals wrote a song called Milk, and it's what plays at the end of each one of our podcasts.
That's right. You were listening to it now, and the next thing you were listening to is thank you so much for listening to Completely Arbortrary. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Goodbye. Completely Arbortrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp.
Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals.
And you can support the podcast at patreon.com/arbitrarypod.
And find additional readings at completelyarbitrary.com. Thanks for listening.